All right, welcome all our ardent viewers to our weekly YouTube. Unfortunately, my co-host Keith Anderson has been struck down with the flu, so we've called in another expert on footy, the current president of the Drouin Footy Club, Eric Bott. How are you, Eric?
Oh, Chris, and yourself?
Not too bad. So we'll do a quick review and a preview and maybe just ask a couple of questions on how the Drouin Footy Club's travelling, mate.
That sounds good.
Okay, so round 9, we had a couple of interesting results. Warragul travelled up to Maffra and they actually only got beaten by 2 goals.
Oh, interesting that up until half time they were right in the hunt and Maffra just held sway. I think Warragul's form has been pretty good this year.
Yeah, no, well, they're a team that we keep saying each week they're young and you're going to get good and bad results. Now, I'm not sure whether the ground, it was purely the ground conditions, because probably Maffra people might suggest that, but Warragul has been showing some good form, and it's good to see that, especially whilst their arrival of Drouin, it's good to see someone from the Western End actually taking it up to the top teams that are the supposed top teams that are in the East.
Well, I think with due respect to everybody else involved, I think Ash Green's come in there with a new enthusiasm, and I think the players have responded very well to him. He's worked in the junior programs for a few years and I think relates very well to the young players.
Yeah, no, well, he's done. Now, we'll go to Tarouga and Leongatha. Now, unfortunately for Leongatha, who were a top side last year and this year they've been struggling, but they hosted the Tarouga Maroons and unfortunately Tarouga ran away with a pretty convincing win, 16-13 to 7-16. But look, young Timmy North, he's playing exceptional football. He's only a young fella and he's only a little fella, but he's playing very well. And you guys played Tarouga a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Tarouga has probably stitched us up more than anybody that we've played this year, and we're probably a little bit surprised they're sitting at the bottom of the 5 rather than a bit further up. So they certainly probably handled us better than any other side this year.
Okay, we'll go to Bairnsdale. Now, this was another close one because Bairnsdale have been probably struggled against the top 2 or 3, but they've sort of finished off the other teams pretty well. But Moe's travelled up there, and I know there'd been a lot of rain up there, but the ground apparently wasn't in that bad a condition considering the weather. But gee, Moe's done a terrific job. They've only lost by 23 points. Not too bad, mate.
Yeah, look, they 13 points in fact, but they...
That's right, my arithmetic's gone there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the young boy Sheehan's having a good year, and look, Moe, this time of the year you expect lower teams to do really well against the top rungs. I mean, we're sort of that far into the season at the early part of the year and the enthusiasm's worn off, and we're probably far enough away from the finals that it's that time of the year when you tend to get a few upsets, I reckon.
And Moe, but I better just, Lee Sheen's actually the ex-Warragul bloke, he's not that young, so we better not call him too young, you'll get too excited, bloody Sheen, mate. But anyway, then we got Salem Orwell, which was touted as the top 2, and it was at quarter time, Morwell had 6 shots to 7. It was pretty close, but then Sale went away with it and ended up winning by a reasonable amount, which sort of surprised everyone. And just looking at it, the main goal kickers this year for the Morwell side, they just weren't there. Lockie Dowland's the only one that kicked a goal there in their main forward line, and Dean McDonald, who's been actually starring. Yeah, they struggled against the Sale boys.
Yeah, you just wonder what impact the Morwell Traralgon games had on them. I mean, that was a big up for both sides, and then although you're playing against the top sides, they try to get up, but it's pretty hard to come up emotionally each weekend and turn it on day in, day out. Morwell are a quality side, there's no doubt about that, and I don't think that's going to give us a real indication as we go forward. I think there's not much between those two.
Yeah, and whether the 6-day turnaround, it's another one that just adds the fuel to the fire, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not over yet.
Okay, and then the last one was Wonthaggi Drouin, where your guys hosted the Wonthaggi Power side, and you actually, in that last quarter, you got within a couple of goals. 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah, look, it was a very competitive game. Wonthaggi were able to score quite regularly, and we struggled in that department. We did get a bit of a run on in the second half. I think it was 6 goals to 5. And at three-quarter time, Wonthaggi were, I think a little bit concerned that their form wasn't that good, but our boys put in a pretty good effort. If you looked at our best players, 5 of our 6 best players were all teenagers, so it's probably one of the signs of our side this year.
Well, you did actually outscore them in the second half. So, I mean, there's always positives when you can do that.
Yep.
And I think what surprised most people was the surface of the John Ground wasn't as bad. With the wet weather we had earlier in the week, I think everyone was expecting it to be a bit of a mudbath.
What people, I think, Druid people know is that there was a lot of work done last year in terms of drainage.
Yeah.
The soil composition hasn't changed, and so against Terrell, when we played on the really wet day, it did bog up. But we haven't trained on it much the last couple of weeks, and it does recover a lot better now than it has in the past. And we've given it a light week this week and expect it to be in tip-top shape for Sunday.
Okay, well, that's it. Now we go to round 10, which, viewers here, I've got to pull the paperwork out. We've got Leongatha Bairnsdale now. Bairnsdale have got to travel over the hills to Leongatha, and this is very important for both sides. Leongatha's got to actually show some fight and come up with a victory, and then Bairnsdale actually, to keep their chances alive, have got to keep winning.
Yeah, that's the point. It's a difficult trip. Leongatha are a very proud club, as we know,
yeah.
and I'm sure they will be out there giving their 100% as they do. Bairnsdale, I think though, in terms of performance, was probably the best side we played early in the year. Their form hasn't suggested that, so there maybe is a bit of home and away difference there. So this will be a toss-up, this one. It'd be a pretty tough one to call.
Okay, well, I'll go for Bairnsdale because they have to win, and unfortunately for Leongatha, they've just got so many injuries. But so, do you want to make a call on it, or
I'll tip the Parrots at home?
Okay, then we've got Maffra hosting Moe. Now, at this point in time, we have got a couple of concerns with There's been something like 10 inches of rain in the last 10 days up in that area. So we're not it's Tuesday night, we're not 100% sure if the game will be played at Maffra or whether we have to put it back, but Maffra people are obviously keeping us informed, and hopefully by tomorrow night we can actually make a firm decision. But as we speak, I've just received a text saying that it's drizzling very strongly up there, so yeah, there are some concerns. But if they do play, wet conditions, muddy conditions, that'll suit Moe, who are so-called the less skilled side.
I'm not a big advocate for wet grounds bringing the sides. I think it happens on the scoreboard. Maffra's a very strong built side, and I think they play well in any conditions, and I'd expect them. Moe did well last week, but I expect Maffra to win quite comfortably there. Okay, then we'll go Morwell Wonthaggi, which this is another, one of our blockbuster games. We've actually got 2 there, possibly 3. Morwell Wonthaggi, now that should be, a really good game on supposedly a good surface. I mean, that ground's been done up, and I would suggest it'll be in pretty good nick. And no dramas there, but Morwell Wonthaggi, that's a very important close. I think it'll be an absolute ripper.
Yeah.
Morwell, their back half seemed very well structured, and if Adam Cook plays up forward, we know what sort of mark and kick he can be, and that could turn out to be anything. Well, I think Morwell at home should win.
Yeah, well, Darkin Lockyer will be playing.
Yes.
So it's, and actually he does, he's actually, I'm amazed at how quick he still is. Being an ex-AFL footballer, out of it for a couple of years, but in his game that he played earlier in the year against Bairnsdale, his speed actually surprised me.
But these boys are still in the system, and they'd be doing a fair bit of the training, probably not the real slog work pre-season, etc. But they'd be handling the footies and doing the work, and they know they're playing, so they're professional people. They'd be getting themselves right. There's no doubt about that. Okay,
and then we have Terrell Sale. Now, obviously this is a 5th against 1st, so this will be a blockbuster as well.
I think it's a great round.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the round of the year in terms of positions on the ladders and what's at stake for teams. if you go back to more Wonthaggi are playing for a double chance pretty much, I'd say, and Traralgon and Sale, I mean Traralgon are probably doing the same thing, so there's a lot at stake, and you know, with the conditions as you say, it you know, might throw up a few little quirks, I reckon.
Yeah, no, well, that's going to be hard, you know, because Traralgon, you know, it's a really do or die effort for that to actually keep their chances of the double chance going, so they've actually got to perform.
Yes. I think they'll win, actually.
Okay,
I
no worries.
think Sale, big game last week, and for the same reasons with Maul, I think, you know, maybe they might be a bit off. Okay,
fair enough. Now, we actually come to the blockbuster game of the round, because this is a local derby, and you can't get better than that. Druin hosting Warragul on the Sunday. And I know it's your sponsors' day. It is your sponsors'
we're inviting our sponsors back. We had a luncheon early in the year, and we're inviting them back for an afternoon tea and give them a mid-season report after what we gave them at the start of the year was our early season report. So, you know, there's a fair bit we've got to talk to them about.
Yeah, so, well, obviously in the west, all roads will lead to Druin, because expecting a big crowd, which normally occurs on a Sunday when the two clubs play. So we would hope that there's going to be a really great, and we know it's going to be a hard-fought match, because there's no beg your pardons when the two clash, the Gulls and the Hawks.
Yeah, and a lot of young people playing this game. I mean, Warragul have brought up a number of players from their grand final side last year, and they've performed pretty well during the year. And we know our Druin boys, and I spoke before, you know, they're 5 of our best 6 players were young players last week. So it'll be quick, you know, and they'll be going pretty hard at it, I reckon.
And young Chris Carey, he's come of age the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's been filling in the role as a backup ruckman to Matty Gray, and doing most of doing a fair bit of the rucking work and up forward. And the last 2 weeks, he's actually been one of their best players.
Yeah, and that's what happens, and we're finding the same ourselves. You know, you bring a young fella up for 2 or 3 weeks, and you know, the intensity of the game tends to wear them down for a little while, and then they become accustomed to the workload, and you see more consistent performances, and we're seeing that with our group at the moment.
So you want to make a tip? You want to give us your tip on that one?
Well, we reckon the Hawks are a real good chance. You know, we our first half against Sale was, I thought, a fairly impressive performance. Yeah. We gave away some, you know, opportunities that we could have taken, and that's what footy's about. Of course, we didn't take our opportunities that day. Our back end against Wonthaggi was pretty good, you know, so we'll put the two together and say it was a good game, I hope.
All right.
Should be another ripper game. As I say, this round would have to be perhaps the round of the year, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and as we say, it's the start of the second half of the season, but the clubs know where they're at, and they know they should know what they need to do. So we're expecting a really great round of footy. Whilst we've got here, we might as well ask you some questions about the Druin Footy Club. You've taken on the role this year under difficult circumstances. You know, you lost a few senior players, so how are you finding that?
Being involved with footy is probably the best thing ever. Lost a few players. If people remember, Druin played in 2 grand finals 2 years ago, and there's only 1 player left at our club that played in both of those games, in David Olsen, our current captain. And so it's a real changing of the guard for us, and most of those people are locals. And we have a couple of blokes that have walked into the town, Nick Vizzer, Darren Jeffries, and those sort of guys, and the rest of them are, you know, the local guys and the kids coming through the system. So we're building something. Our under-18s are going well. We've got numbers now for our reserves, which was a problem early in the year, and we've got some programs happening in the juniors. So signs are good. You know, if this is Druin's lowest ebb, then we'll probably take it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's an amazing thing in football, isn't it? There's been a bit of talk about how down the Druin Hawks are and all that, but they seem to forget that it was only 2010-11 that you actually played off in 2 grand finals.
Absolutely.
And it's, you know, I mean, yeah, there has been a changeover, and you've got to have, as you said, your ups and downs, and I suppose one of the interesting points is that, and I know you've answered this, and I did forewarn you I was going to ask you, and when you're on a down, you know, you get this silly talk about, oh, you know, Druin might be looking at going to a local standard. So with our viewers here, and I know you've written a piece in your local newsletter or your club newsletter, but probably just to let everyone know what your thoughts are on where Druin should be at, and or what your thoughts are about it.
Look, footy changes all the time, and you look through the history of the Druin Footy Club at West Gippsland Club, Latrobe Valley Club, West Gippsland Club, now back with the Gippsland League. It would be a difficult ask for us to rejoin what was the clubs of the West Gippsland League. We've competed against those clubs in the past, and a number of those teams weren't able to compete and actually left us when we were the West Gippsland Footy League. That's the first thing. We've worked pretty hard, I think, with our junior structures and particularly our netball. And I'm not sure, you know, you hear things around the trap whether all the netball clubs are happy with what's being proposed in the Elimelec League at the moment. And so there's a lot of considerations, and as I keep saying to people, like we are, you know, it's not a rebuilding year for us, it's a stabilisation year. We clearly know our shortfalls on field, we know what we have to do off field, and we've put our structures in place, a 5-point plan, and we're working through that, and we would expect next year that we'd reap some of the rewards of the work we've done this year within the Gippsland League.
Yeah. Okay, well that's about it, I think. I've asked you a couple of questions, and I think that's about our time's up. So, first of all, thank you very much, Eric, for helping us out tonight with the old fella being Black Crook. But very well done, and appreciate you being here with us, and to our cameraman, and thank you very much, and we'll catch up with you next week, and hopefully Keith's back on his feet and ready to cause some controversy. Thank you very much.